Did you do the whoopsies from Mortal Kombat? Is that the?
Whoopsie.
Did you do
No, I think
it
he
in
said
the
it's
cadence?
toasty. Toasty.
I think he did the whoopsie from Sesame Street. Oh, whoopsie! That's what I think.
No one knows what that is. No one knows what Sesame Street
What are you
is.
talking about? It's Sesame Street.
I don't know how kids are finding Sesame Street now. It's impossible.
On HBO. You got to pay for it, man.
Yeah.
John, on the streaming
in Canada.
service. Yeah. Oh, I don't know, on Crave or whatnot. This is a thing. HBO. You know, no, at this point we just all watch our Canadian conglomerate version of it, which is Fraggle Rock. This is what we're all about. OG Canadian version is the Dozers and Fraggle Rock. So
that's right. There was Mr. Rogers. We had Mr. Dress Up. There you go.
That's
Mr. Dress Up was great.
Yeah, he was. I miss him. He was a good times. All right, welcome back to the Heroes World Quarantine podcast as we talk about some Canadiana. I am your host, Stupe. With me, as always, on this excellent adventure is both the owners and proprietors of Heroes World in Markham, Ontario, John and Andre. Please say hello to the world.
Hey, everybody.
Howdy, folks.
And, of course, Rufus, our Prince of Mischief, Mr. Rob Gadet. Say hello.
Whoopsie!
Don't worry, I recorded all of that. We got that.
No, I know that.
We got
no,
that.
I know that.
For all you kids that want to make some ringtones, you know. all you kids back in 2006 when that was a thing. When you made your own
can
ringtone.
extrapolate that and make it a ringtone.
Yeah, it was a time to be alive. 2006. Anyways, thank you all for joining us on the podcast. Of course, this is a podcast where we talk about pop culture, science fiction, TV, etc., etc. We're going to start off, of course, while Wandavision is live and in Technicolor, our review of episode 5. John, what is the title?
On a very special episode or something like that.
Yes, on point.
Yeah.
So we're going to go first off, as always, with Rob, who is going to give us his description of the episode without any descriptive positive or negative adjectives. Please continue.
It's really funny because this will be my 5th week doing this, and yet I completely forgot I had to do this.
I was like, we should add a timer to make it harder. You got like
oh no,
seconds.
John, don't do this, because when we
You're
ask
next.
you to do it for Winter Soldier, you're going to be like, I got nothing. So you got to be careful.
That's okay. We're not technically getting marked on this or anything.
Well, we are.
That's true.
The internet is judging you a lot.
That's
like
true.
We're going to do at the end, we're going to do what John has classically done. We're going to do charts of John week by week and then grade them by A, B, C, D. Where was John in week 1? You know, let's move him up, and we're going to get people to give some feedback. So be careful what you say about non being marked. But yes, Mr. Gadet, please.
Yes. So this week, we find ourselves actually bridging now, the comedy show that we've come to know, with Wanda and Division. It takes place in the 80s, as well as bridging with what we saw last week in episode 4, which is what's happening outside of the dome. So the timelines have now somewhat become equal, although we're still watching the show from an 80s perspective. I believe that the 80s show that they're spoofing is a mix of Growing Pains and Family Ties. At any rate,
and a dash of Full House.
Yes, a dash of Full House. My son actually was one that pointed that one out. So in this week's episode, Vision becomes a bit more aware that something is afoot of what is happening. Again, I've used this before, that the threads are being pulled in the tapestry. Wanda finds herself losing, consciously or subconsciously, losing control of her, of the fabric of her reality, and decides to exit the dome and have a confrontation with the Sword agents who are on the outside, who at this time are still obviously trying to figure out what's happening, transfixed with the show, with what what the dome is made of. Are they being held hostage? And also a lot of hints about some potential future heroes coming in to the MCU, likely not in this show, but at least laying the groundwork for future other MCU shows or movies down the road, all while trying to really figure out how best to release the thousands of hostages that what they deem to be hostages inside of the dome. The episode ends off with a confrontation between Wanda and Vision. And right before you get to the end credits, a surprise appearance happens that has definitely shaken up the internet and potentially has expanded the multiverse in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yes, as people have noted, the $1 billion cameo. So there we go. We're gonna go straight to John. Spoilers here for WandaVision. I don't know why you're watching us if you haven't seen the episode.
Maybe they
But
need to
frankly,
be convinced to watch the show.
like John.
Maybe you're here to see Andre.
Yeah. Every week I'm like, John. I get a temperature gauge at John at like 4:00 in the afternoon. How you doing, buddy? Are you watching it? You want to dip your toe in the
As if he's
pool?
got a
Like,
flu.
like,
What are you doing, pal? You feeling okay?
hey, buddy? Okay, buddy. So I always do a temperature check with John, but yes, we're going full spoilers in case anyone is going to yell at us for ruining anything. But John, go full hog.
Yeah,
because
I've got a
every
few,
week you've been tedious. You've been on this trapeze act of not sure where you're going to jump in and out, and this week has been kind of the right mixture in your mind. So talk to us about your thoughts on the episode.
Yeah. First of all, I got a couple Vegas bets on whether Andre is kind of going to be on board for this one or not. So we'll see how those turn out. But
he's got his poker face on. It's impossible to tell.
No, it's awesome. I think that's a good mystery. So, yeah. So this episode, definitely, as Stu mentioned, it's definitely kind of getting to the mix, where for me, as what I wanted to see is actually showing up. So at this point, after watching this episode, all the things I'm taking in, what's that phrase? That now you're cooking with gas, right? Yeah. So now I feel like things are really moving. I will I'll kind of like backtrack a little bit. I did mention it last week, kind of the whole idea that people aren't familiar with Wanda's power set. The whole fact, like even in this episode, we find out she doesn't really have her Scarlet Witch code name. They kind of like joke around it. But the reality altering powers, I'll have to say that I think they're doing. I feel like they're doing a good job of selling this to an audience that doesn't know this, and even kind of like explaining it in a way that kind of the comics have never done before. It's kind of like she can create the realities, but they don't really kind of like show how much work is involved in it. So I feel like this one, they're kind of expanding that idea, and she's like, oh, you think I'm controlling all these people, that type of stuff. And then she's kind of slipping up, little things are falling out. Like I did like when Vision gets they have the kind of like mini argument, and then they send him away, and then the kids are like, where's daddy? And she's like, oh, he's at work. And they're like, it's Saturday. And it's kind of like there's like all these things like kind of like starting to like Rob said, unravel and kind of come apart. So I really actually quite like that. I will say those first 3 episodes, I don't know if they were indulgent. Maybe they were necessary to kind of sell this idea. So maybe you did have to kind of sit through it, and maybe we're a little used to being able to binge things or more things happening. So maybe it was necessary. I will give a MVP to Randall Park. I love some of his stuff on there. I liked when they like, oh, Wanda and Vision, not Vision, Wanda and Quicksilver were radicalized or whatever, and then he's like, oh yeah, that's like an oversimplification of things. And then they're like, yeah, she was the closest to beating Thanos, and then he's like, oh, I think Captain Marvel got pretty close. So he's almost now we have a character that's kind of like us yeah. in the show, right? So I like last episode where he just kind of squints and goes, so I'll say it again, it's so they created a sitcom with 2 Avengers, like kind of like a weird look on his face. So we're kind of still watching like that, and now he's able to jump in and go, and you know what, the weird thing, and like, oh, this guy's like a dick and stuff like that. So I like that, and I definitely would still. I know the internet's kind of demanding it. I would definitely watch the Randall Park Kat Dennings show of X-Files-ish FBI antics. I do have some weird questions though, like is what did Vision do to Vision taps that guy's head and makes him reveal what's going on? What part of Vision's power set allows him to do that? I didn't get what that was. That was kind of weird. I guess they just added that because and is the dog brainwashed? Is the dog also one of the thousands held hostage? And
no, I don't think it is. No,
and he's someone else's dog, but you think no? You think
no? I think it's just a random dog. Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
to the point where I think they'll go into an explanation, because we waited each week. They kind of unravel, like we said, something different. So in terms of, Andre brought points like, why can't Scarlet Witch do this and that? And then they brought it up in the next episode. So Andre's clearly a future teller from the future, because every episode he'll ask a question and then they'll reveal some of it the following episode to make him happy.
We better answer that like next.
We better
episode.
answer that because Andre may tap out. So
before too many people catch on.
Yeah, so it is slowly kind of doing, and that's part of the unraveling of the mystery. Like the same time as I don't want to know all the answers right away, I kind of want to have it slowly, happen around us and get that point. So you are on board. You like this whole show now.
I'll say I much more enjoy watching it. The problem is I still am not a huge fan of Wanda and Vision as characters. Like Vision, I still think he looks pretty goofy when he's in his Vision gear and he's like kind of like the purplish pink. But I'll watch the rest of it for sure.
And that's kind of the ultimate like balancing act with these shows and movies compared to the comics, because Andre, we've talked to this before, where why aren't characters like what they are in the comics? So whether it's Umbrella Academy, where they're not the same, so now we're at this point where Vision kind of looks like the comic book character, but it's adjusted a bit. But there you are, John, not happy that he looks like his comic book counterpart. And then
I don't like his comic book counterpart either. He's like, if I was making an Avengers team, they probably wouldn't be on it. They're definitely not my favorite Avengers. Shout outs. I know a lot of people love them. If I was a Scarlet Witch fan, I'd be loving this. You get to see her in all the different costumes. You get to see her really act. When she comes out of the bubble, she has the Scarlet Witch accent back, right?
Yeah, it's a cool
accent. Yeah. So it's kind of neat that she's kind of getting to play with that. So that's cool.
But John, you know what? I think if you actually look at the makeup, you're right, of Vision, it's very like purplish. Almost like a raspberry type of a dark raspberry color. I actually think that they're changing that on purpose. I think that they're actually doing things. There are subtle changes to the depth of the colors.
Anyways,
no, well, I think because the movie they changed it's not as bold as it is in this series, and I think that's done on purpose. To be very honest with you, I think that she's overcompensating. I think that what we saw last week with the dead Vision, I think she's overcompensating for the color.
And I thought that was a cool aspect too, when they're like, they show that, I guess, that clip of her breaking him out, which I guess I heard a rumor that it was original ending sequence to Endgame or something like that. But I like the idea of like, she's broken this guy out. And why didn't they mention that earlier, by the way?
But what?
That she like 9 days earlier to this incident had broken Vision out. Like they mentioned it like now.
That director said he's been given permission to share it, so obviously something's happening.
Yeah, like I think John, what you haven't seen is that director who clearly is sketchy at this standpoint. Shifting the narrative.
So maybe he chose to withhold it or whatever. But I like the idea of. I think I don't remember if Kat Denning says it or the Randall Park character says it, that Vision did not want to be resurrected or something like that. So what's he going to do when he finds out? Yeah, that he.
Well, I think that, remember,
against his will.
To your point, if you watch the other episode, when Monica was asking about, we're intelligence and reconnaissance, and he's like, well, we're doing AI stuff right now. We're building drones. We've lost pilots. We're doing AI. So then it kind of connects the dots, as in like, well, why are they taking apart Vision? Are they using his AI? Are they using his parts to fund these unmanned operations? So it fits in line with this broken Vision. And for you comic book nerds, it follows through the panel where Wanda walks in and Vision's broke up into 1,000 pieces. And there is a panel in comic book lore that matches up with that too. So, I think there's
right before it becomes the White Vision.
Yeah, there's things that are happening, and maybe we'll get the White Vision at the end of this, and that's what we walk away with, the Dove version of the Ivory version of Vision. But I think again, we don't know. Maybe he's not a bad guy at all. Maybe it's a narrative view. It's like he's doing what he thinks is safety, and this is again like magic, as Jimmy Woo has learned in his time outside the bubble when he learns from Scott Lang the tricks. That the card is that it's a misdirection. Maybe he's not truly a bad guy and he's just a good guy who's like, well, I'm concerned because this person has the propensity to do bad things, and we've seen it happen. She, how trustworthy is her? She is technically Sokovian, and yes, the Avengers trust her, but what's the vetting process to be an Avenger? Like, you just need powers outside of Hawkeye. But there's a whole different story about my disdain for Hawkeye. But yeah, like this is the thing. Like we don't know, and I'm interested to see, because again, there's a whole elephant in the room with this Agnes. Like, what is she? Because we don't have anything about her yet. So, we'll see. Rob, what are your thoughts?
Hey, buddy. So when we're recording this, it's Sunday mornings. It's at 9. Cobwebs are still in the head, and I don't actually recall a lot of the episodes that I see from Friday until I start thinking about it. I'm like, oh yeah, right, okay. It just
that's why
takes
you
me
go
a little
second.
bit of it takes me a little bit of time to get up and moving. There is a lot that is unveiled in this episode. This is one of those where I definitely am going to want to go back and rewatch it again. So this is not in any chronological order, but Monica Rambeau, I mean, listen, there was the comment about, well, Captain Marvel almost took out Thanos, and you could tell she kind of rolls her eyes like, I'm done with that Captain Marvel. Like, there's obviously a pre-existing tension there outside of the Captain Marvel movie that we saw from a couple of years ago. She talks about calling a quantum scientist, or no, some type
engineer.
of engineer. Engineer.
Astrospace engineer.
Astrospace engineer that she can contact. And there is some chatter. I saw a video earlier this morning about somebody suggesting that this is the laying the groundwork for the Fantastic Four. That's what I mean. She was actually texting this individual, right? So it is interesting to see. Is this the groundwork that
it was? The nerds out there too was searching it, and in all respect, they went on the Mexican Spanish version, looked at subtitles, and there is pronouns for it. So it said she. So now everyone's under the assumption it's Talos's daughter, as in, because remember, she's like, well, not all aliens are bad. So there's this laying. They're like, okay, well, maybe it's because she, has interacted with aliens already. So she's like, well, aliens are not all bad. So I know one specifically who maybe is an astronaut in space.
Who is that's Monica Rambeau knows an alien?
Yes, because remember, she met Talos's family in Captain Marvel, and there was a little girl.
The Skrulls,
the Skrulls,
right?
So there was the.
But again, she's been gone for 5 years, so she just comes back. She's gonna pick up her phone and knows where that person is. But anyways, details.
Well, Andre, like, have you changed your cell phone number
in 5 years?
Yeah. You
I've
have
had a couple different plans.
Rob, have you changed your number?
No, it's the same number I have for 20 years.
John, have you changed your number?
Yeah. No,
I haven't changed my number. My number is the same since high school. So yeah, outside of you, Andre, who's shopping, and good for you, man.
Yeah.
Keep on, like we talked.
You can actually keep
around.
your number, right? You just change carriers.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Andre doesn't want to keep his number. He wants to avoid the feds. So
So we find ourselves. So there's a lot happening there. Vision is becoming more aware. John, you're right. I was thinking the exact same thing. How did he unlock his coworkers? Like, first of all, when he did the thing with the computer, because they were reading that email.
Shout out to the Commodore 64. I used to have that exact one.
Yeah, they were reading that email, and they were all reading it in unison.
Yeah.
He unlocked his coworker. I don't know what power set he was able to use because he doesn't possess the Mind Stone. So you're right. I don't know how he was able to do that.
He just touches his forehead, and the guy's like, "Oh, get me out of here!" Like, and that was a cool moment where that guy's like, "Oh man, she's making me do this." Blah 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 blah. That's cool. But yeah, I don't know how.
I guess you could go by saying, remember when in the Marvel movies they say that only Wanda and Vision, because they're both made of stones, they can interact, and that's why she can do the energy and all that stuff. Like,
that's
maybe
a
there's
stretch.
some sort of because in Endgame there's like, you're the only one that can destroy the gem, right? So. Well, John, we're living in a universe where people are being punched by Captain America and their brains are not exploding. So that's also a stretch too.
True.
One punch to Captain America.
Yeah, you could say that he shares control of this reality, maybe, and was like,
theoretically, if any of us got punched by Captain America, we'd be insta-killed. Like, I don't, like, people are just getting back up. I'm like, this is a super soldier. Like, I don't understand how things are happening.
No, he's so fast. He's putting padding on you and then hitting you.
That's a stretch, but yes, I'll let that one go too.
He's got the shield in one hand, and the second hand he's got a mat, and he throws the mat on you, and then kicks you off the ship, and then you drown, but you don't die from the impact.
Yeah, let's not forget that you're winded hugely off a boat. So, anyways, carry on.
I quite enjoyed this episode. I did enjoy the mix of the television show and the like the comedy show and what was happening. I like the fact that you start near the end, you start rolling those television show credits while they're arguing, and all of a sudden as they pass from one room to the next, the credits are gone. If you notice, again, see this little subtle attention to detail. The television show, the sitcom show, was like a widescreen, like a full 14:9, and then it went down to whatever, and then it went down to a letterbox like 16:9 ratio when it was outside of the dome. As John said, Wanda comes out of the dome and she's got her Sokovian accent. She's back in her old getup with her longer hair, with the red leather jacket. There is just so much about this episode that I was like, it was just so much to chew on, and it felt good. It felt like, even though the sitcom aspect aside, it felt like I'm seeing the connective DNA to the rest of the MCU that I kind of haven't seen in these prior episodes. I still maintain kind of what John had touched upon. I don't see any need for really seeing the first 3 episodes again as a rewatch, unless you're a completionist. Like, I would never go back and rewatch those episodes because there's nothing. Although I do want to know what happened to Deborah Jo Rupp, because I think she, hopefully she's not locked in the basement somewhere with Kelso and the rest of the gang. So I'm looking forward to the next. This is obviously it's pushing. I think there's a lot of red herrings, though. I think that they're making. Listen, I could be wrong. Maybe they're all cards on the table, and Wanda is the real villain, and she will be the villain that Doctor Strange faces off against. I have no idea, but I think that there's some other things happening, and I do want to talk the spoiler. That end cameo blew my mind away. I was really surprised. I had no clue who it was. I'm not going to lie to you. At one point, I actually, the back of the head with the gray hair, I was like, oh shit, is this like old Steve Rogers? I had no idea that they would have brought in Evan Peters from the Fox X-Men universe as Pietro / Quicksilver. So although he's rocking a Jersey Shore accent, I thought it was a pretty cool cameo. I'm very excited to see.
He was very Uncle Jesse, man. He's very Uncle Jesse.
Exactly. Yeah, so I'm very excited to see where that goes. I like Kat Dennings' comment. She goes, "Oh my God, did she just recast her brother?" Like, there's so much in this episode that you go back and watch it and you'll be just as satisfied as you were with the first. My only caveat, though, is that this comedy show is starting to wear thin for me a little bit, even though things are definitely happening way faster now than they were in the previous episodes. I'm kind of over this gimmick, to be very honest with you. I want to see what's happening in real life. So,
well, if you go by the next,
love the episode.
If you go by the 2 next episodes, Malcolm in the Middle has always been a surreal type of show. It's never been straight up comedy. It's been like weird situations and awkward situations. And then Modern Family, it's just dialogue where you're going to see people talking to a monitor or screen. So they are moving away in terms of traditional comedies. It's going to be kind of a unique take. And if they continue down that route, then they have 3 more episodes, then we're good. So this show's supposed to be 6 hours in length. So by the end, the last couple episodes are going to be 45 minutes or 40 minutes long. And then
this one was 41, exclusive of credits. It was 36. So, but I think there's 4, right? That was episode 5. So you have 6, 7, 8, and 9.
9 episodes.
So, yeah. So 4 more episodes to go.
So then the last
Steve Rogers would have made sense. Like when they're like, oh, we need something from that time that doesn't have to get altered, and they send in old Steve Rogers. I thought they were going to take Kat Dennings and put her in like an 80s outfit and make her walk in. And I'm like, oh man, this is going to get really cheesy. but they took the old drone or whatever, but sure.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing about that, though, sorry, Stu, is that when Vision's questioning her about what she's done, and let's not forget Agatha beforehand, she goes, do you want me to do that again? Like, obviously she seems to be different than the rest of the other residents in the town, but I digress. Yeah. When Vision is really demanding of Wanda, what have you done? And this and that, you've created all this. And then that doorbell rings and she's like, I didn't do that. So that's what leads me to believe something else is happening on the outside that, so.
Yeah, I think that, she's in grief and someone gave her an opportunity and she's just going full into it. So we'll see. I think it was a very interesting thing, but we'll let Andre get his thoughts now, and then we'll go from there. Andre, go for it.
So I would say that this episode was definitely the most interesting of all of them that they've done. Finally, they seem to be, they put together like 30 minutes that held my attention. The devil's in the detail, and they've started to pull back the curtain. So many elements of it that I actually, enjoyed, like Monica Rambeau figuring out to go look at her clothes, and then she's like, "Oh, this is it's I was wearing Kevlar, so this is Kevlar."
Like 87% Kevlar.
87% Kevlar. Yeah, just when Wanda comes out, how she went back, reverted to her old self, like playing the detail to that. Just like Robin John, I didn't like or didn't figure out how Vision was able to communicate with that guy, but I love that part. I love this episode for seeing that now Vision, or the actor who plays Vision, like, I'm like, yeah, look at this guy's acting chops. Like this was really good. He was on point. He was questioning her. He, like, I really liked the serious tone of this episode. Everybody here said it, like 1, 2, and 3 mean nothing. Watch episode 4, and then episode 5, boom, you're on board, right? Finally showing that she stole Vision. So we don't know if she saved Vision because he was being dissected and could have been used as a weapon, or that she, finally, after years of living without him, couldn't do it anymore, and she's, snapped herself. So there's different things that we can think on that level. So yeah, I thought that they're finally moving and telling story, like if it had started at episode 4, with some tweaks and stuff like that, instantly better show. Plus they could go in a different direction and focus on different things. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is very comedic, so I can see why they wanted to do this comedy, but it's not in its whole thing a comedy. This is not slapstick. So again, I don't want to say the first 3 episodes were wasted. I thought they were very charming. I've said that before, but at this point, like Rob said, like, you can be done with it now. Let's just have her in her world explaining what she's doing, losing control, and or trying to justify this control, trying to say maybe people have chosen to be in this realm, but we know by that one individual that they haven't. The best friend, like when she was in the 80s stuff, again, it's dragging that the comedy in this part, none of it was funny. Like it was painful. It was cringeworthy. So I don't remember 80s comedies, obviously, that watching it, I don't remember if they were that cringeworthy, but every comedic part in this thing was cringeworthy. Maybe that was what they were going for. So if that's what they were going for, kudos, they nailed it. But yeah, there was things to like in it. I was hoping to see more of a threat than a threat to her. I would have really liked if she turned the guns on that guy and just let them shoot. Because again, she had a very good point. She's like, I'm not the one coming out here with guns. You guys don't know what's going on, but you're treating me like the enemy, already, and stuff. Now I know that's not her character, and stuff like that. But I do think if you wanted to start planting the seeds that she is the villain, then you have to make her like the villain. But also, if she's not the villain, I think you have to start wondering who has the potential to manipulate her. So now on to the point that Rob brought up. When we get to that doorbell and she says, "This is not me," right? Either she doesn't know that she's doing it, like either she doesn't know that she wants her brother, or now the MCU's opened up a huge can of worms by saying somebody else has the power now to bridge these realities or multiverses and then bring in the actor who's not her brother, right? Like and to be honest with you, like I knew it was probably going to be Pietro, but I was super shocked that they chose to use this version, because let's face it, the Fox X-Men stuff, like compared to the Marvel stuff, it's just they're things on 2 different levels. And while I'm super critical of the MCU stuff, the Fox X-Men stuff, probably since the second X-Men movie, it's all trash. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so like there's literally no, like, the only good thing you would want to take from it would be Patrick Stewart and Hugh
Ian McKellen.
Jackman. You know,
Yeah.
like that's it. So for them to take this,
Deadpool?
like,
No?
huh?
Deadpool, you're not on board with, of course.
I
Deadpool?
don't really consider him part of the
That would have been the
X-Men.
worst. Ring the doorbell as Deadpool there.
Yeah, but like I don't I
Well,
don't
Andre, how
know
about
why
this?
they
Let
would
me-
want to be trying to salvage or
Let me ask you this
in
question,
any
Andre.
way, shape, or form bring people's memories to the Fox X-Men. Like you keep it separated. You know what I mean? Like we don't need like
Okay, let me
multiverses.
ask you something, because I think that's I think no one's going to dispute you on the direction of the Marvel universe and Fox universe. But Kevin Feige spoke a long time ago when Quicksilver died. It's like you have to have deaths matter in the MCU. If you die, you die. You can't just bring people back. Like, it has to matter. So when Quicksilver arrived, I automatically thought it was not that Quicksilver, because I think in my mind, when listening to Kevin Feige say that it kind of sets that, Scarlet Witch has powers, but she can't bring people back from the dead. So maybe this Vision and maybe this one's from a different universe, and they're just bringing them, and that's what's cracking the multiverse. As in, you can't bring back the dead, but she can bring back other heroes, and that's what this version is. So she's pulling a Quicksilver from another universe, and that's the best.
But then why not pull a different actor, have the same silver hair, and then if she calls him Pietro, the audience go, oh, I guess now this, and again, you sure we would be confused, but at this way, like I said, even acknowledging that those universes exist, like, what are we going to do? We're going to bring in the Fantastic Four, all those previous stuff. Like, let the bygone stuff of the past be in the past. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
yeah, but I do think, though, that there's a bit of fan service that's done, and I hear what you're saying. I think, first of all, we don't know. To Stu's point, if death is fine. If this is an alternate reality that she's making stuff up, maybe Aaron Taylor Johnson just wasn't available, didn't want to be a part of this. Who knows? I think, though, yeah, could you recast and have a whole different actor and be like, oh, this is Pietro, this is her brother?
But
Sure, but it wouldn't
elicit.
But it wouldn't elicit the exact the craziness that we all were like, holy shit! Like, that was that uniform was that was the response from people, right? So
right,
yeah, and we've talked, Andre, about the arc that we know that's coming with the multiverse of madness, where there's going to be different multiverses. We know Spider-Man's going to have potentially Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. So you just, like, they're bringing in the other universes.
And again, I'm sticking to what I've always said. Why reference the crap, right?
It wasn't all crap.
Okay, it's not all crap.
It made billions of dollars. It's not all crap, right? Like,
exactly. We've talked about this many times. The episodes 1, 2, and 3 made more money than 4, 5, or 6, but universally people said it's crap, right? So what I'm saying is,
it depends how old you are.
Yes, but
your nephews love those movies more than the new ones. So
the difference, or the point I'm trying to make is, everybody will I think most people could unanimously agree that the movies made under Kevin Feige for the Marvel Cinematic Universe are far and away better than any of the other studios that have made movies. Yes, I particularly enjoy Spider-Man 1 and 2. We can all say that we like Spider-Man 2, but I don't think anywhere past, like, the first 2 X-Men movies or any of the Fantastic Four movies, any of us here would say that those movies are like what we wanted to see in superhero movies, or those were Marvel characters done right. So yes, it's cool. We as real people in the real world do recognize and understand that those movies existed and they are in their other separate universes. But I feel personally that just to bring them all together for certain things, like, I don't know the point, right? Like, bringing in even the Flash movies, doing it with all the different Batmans and stuff like that. Like, there's definitely maybe there's this competition between
the CW already did it, Andre, right? Like, they did it on the last thing, and they brought in Smallville, they brought in all the Catwoman and Batman and stuff from.
But those are, I think
Keaton,
that's on a different level. Like again, most people hold the MCU up here and everything else is below it. So I don't know why you want to bring reference.
But you know what?
Regardless, if they wanted, like Rob said, if they wanted to do it for shock value and to make a buzz on the internet, then I would say, well, the show should be the buzz. It shouldn't be that, oh my
I
God,
think,
we
Andre,
brought X-Men Quicksilver. That's what we want people to talk about.
It's about ambition, right? They want to do the multi-universe and they're going for it. So that's the thing about the Marvel Universe. They're doing stuff that we never thought you'd be able to do, which is an Avengers movie where they pull people from different movies and they bring them together. It's what you mentioned last week. It's like, well, in comic books, all the Avengers, everyone got together on a regular basis, and this is a comic book. You could see all the heroes just in the background in a panel doing stuff. This is not something that you can do typically in movies. Like we watch Batman, the original Batman's like, we're never going to see Superman in this movie. We're never going to see Green Arrow or Flash. We're not going to see, it's a Batman movie and it's only Batman. Maybe we'll get Robin. If we're lucky, we'll get Robin. And that's changed.
But don't forget
decades.
But don't forget though, we as silly ass humans for years and years and years have always, and we've done it at the store 1,000 times. We've always said, you know, who would beat who would, like, that's how the UFC started. It was somebody saying, you know, how would Mike Tyson go up against Bruce Lee if Bruce Lee was still alive? Like, that's how the UFC started, was two guys just shooting the shit one day and figuring this out. And then, you know, you had in the 70s those crossovers between Marvel and DC with Spider-Man meeting up with Superman. And then all of a sudden it became, you had the DC and Marvel full crossover with the heroes fight. Like, that's what happens. And so I don't begrudge Marvel or Kevin Feige bringing in Evan Peters or somebody from the X-Men universe. It's for this story, it just happens to serve that Evan Peters was the best person or character to bring in. But because this is the stuff that we kind of all talk about and we all want. Like, I know, Andre, you're not excited about Flashpoint and you're not excited about the new Spider-Man movie. But those are things that I would say the majority of fans are super hyped for.
And one more thing, Andre, you talked before about Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman. They've already asked both of them and they don't want to come back. So part of it's also like availability and if they want to come back. But
okay, let me see if I can explain this, because sometimes I don't know if I'm explaining properly, but take what Rob just said. All of those things were inter-universe, meaning, you know, when you do look at the Flashpoint, you know, DC comic, that's all in DC Comics. When they did the JLA Avengers, those were the characters from the two respective universes. That's not like you were taking, let's say, if I can give you an example, that's not like you were taking, say, the Marvel Spider-Man, and then you're going to put in Ultimate Marvel Spider-Man, right, from the comics. And then you take IDW, who's publishing Marvel Action Hour comics, and putting them all into one thing. You're taking different, like, legit different universes, different storylines, different, you know, actors, different movie making sensibilities and stuff. And then you're just saying, okay, yeah, we want to do this multiverse story, so let's just use these existing movies because it's easy, or there's a certain level of fan love to it. Like, fine, you want to tell a multiverse story, I get it.
Kind of
but you
comics,
can,
Andre?
Pardon me?
Isn't that kind of comics? Like where Spider-Man has an arc run with a different artist and a different writer, and then the next arc comes in and they don't always reference the last storyline. There's a new Spider-Man looks different. The arc is a little bit different. It's just, you know, like Ben Affleck said, it's kind of
I guess so.
So like, because we don't mention the Spider-Man where Aunt May come back to life and we wiped everyone's brain, or all the stuff that happens in the Spider, like one bad arc in Spider-Man doesn't mean you just stop reading Spider-Man. It's just like, well, this guy's interpretation of it. And then you go on, just like how, you know, Batman has had several fantastic writers and artists go through it and do their own interpretation of the Joker, do their own interpretation of Batman. And then some of it stays over.
All of that is under the Batman umbrella. All of that is under the DC umbrella. What I'm saying is you're taking Sony, Fox, and Disney / MCU. And of those, there's certain ones that have a very good caliber and pedigree that we could agree on.
But so I guess it's kind of odd. You bring in this Quicksilver, and then are you going to bring in the Dark Phoenix cast and add it to the MCU? I was like, I don't want to see that.
But that's the deep cuts, Andre, that you love in comics, right? I want to forget
those movies. I want to, like, you know what I mean?
That's the joy of a comic book that's 900 issues. It's like you go back and you're like, well, Spider-Man makes jokes about the Clone Saga. It's like it's like, well, there was that thing that happened, but we don't talk about it, or the fact that Aunt May died and was
maybe that cast under a different direction and different writing it will work. Maybe
we also don't.
Maybe
know,
they're that
though,
confident.
We don't. We're also making the assumption in this conversation that he is now part of the MCU proper. And
No,
Yeah, it
I
could
don't
be a
think,
throwaway. Yeah.
I don't,
We don't
I'm
even know
not
if he's
making
going to
that
be here.
assumption.
Yeah,
I'm
good
just,
point.
I think just the fact that they want to bring our attention to that is
don't forget, though,
is
Andre, there's a
telling.
whole generation of individuals, of kids who've never watched the Fox X-Men movies, and they just so happen to be on Disney Plus. So there is some, obviously, some cross synergy and promotion.
Yeah,
that
exactly. But at the same time, like, if I wanted, anyways, like, I don't know.
Like, and to your point, Andre, the red, the elephant in the room is who is the big bad, and the rumors on the internet, for those who want to know or want to know, is that's Mephisto. Like, it's all leading to him. That he is the one pulling the strings, and we're just waiting to see what happens. So if that's the thing, we'll see what happens. I don't know whether Marvel will go that route, but we do know that there are potentially one more big actor who's going to show up in WandaVision. So that will be the next mic drop moment, and then we'll see what happens, because it does lead into the next movie. We know it leads into a movie, and that leads into one final movie. And the Spider-Man of note today has said it's the most ambitious movie ever in creation. It's like, I can't believe what we're doing, and they're bringing back Tobey Maguire, and they're bringing back Andrew Garfield potentially. But Rob, to your point, I know you're shaking it, but you were right with Haley Steinfeld, and I was like, well, she didn't say anything, and guess what? She's Hawkeye 9 months earlier. Everyone's like, she's it, and I'm like, Rob, it's not deadline.
No. I was
anything.
just saying
So,
that in the news this week, is there was a lot of discussion about Tom Holland really throwing a lot of shade in that, who's known for dropping spoilers subconsciously and by mistake, really kind of squashing rumors of Tobey Maguire appearing. So it'd be interesting to see if that actually happens. But I digress.
Because even Tatiana Maslany was on that thing. It's like, oh, I don't know anything about this She-Hulk
She-Hulk
thing.
What is this
Like,
She-Hulk thing you're
what are you guys
about?
talking about? I wish. I was like these Marvel people are the sniper lasers are out on them, so I don't think they're gonna, like, there was that guy, the Spanish dub of the voice actor for Quicksilver. I think he mistakenly leaked that Quicksilver is going to be in the show, and they replaced him. They got, like, there's a new voiceover guy in the Spanish version of Netflix or Disney Plus. So, if you break your NDA, like, it's over, like, you're done. So I think they're careful, not unless you're Mark Ruffalo, but everyone else, they're like, okay, you screw up, you're out. So I think they're all very careful. But yeah, I to your point, Andre, I think there's some mysteries to unravel. I think every week you've done a good job of indicating something, and then they'll do their best to answer it. So we'll get the answer for Vision and all this other stuff momentarily, and Evan Peters, whether he is always going to be part of the show or not. If he's going to be continuous to the Marvel universe, we'll find out. But clearly, the rumors about Mr. Defoe being in Spider-Man's got me excited, and I know those movies are not always great, but gosh darn it, William Defoe, I'll take him any time of the week. So, and we already know that Dr. Octopus is in Spider-Man. So, we already know that Sinister Six is alive and kicking. So we're just gonna wait, and they're just cherry picking what they like. I know, Andre, you might feel differently once you see them all live action. So we'll wait and see.
Oh, listen, I just think that, regardless of what type of story that they want to tell, I think there's a ton of stories, in comics that they haven't touched, and I don't know why they want to try and go maybe do something.
Andre, they got all the time in the world. Don't worry, they're gonna keep on going.
No, I get it, but also I will try and make this analogy. It's like, when we're looking at comic book stories that get trade paperbacked and collected, most of the time they only keep the good ones in print in perpetuity, meaning they might print it after it's done, but it might not be printed later. So all I'm saying is these other movies that they're referencing, to me, this is the bad stuff that I want people to forget. So I wouldn't keep it in print. So I wouldn't want to bring people's attentions back to, the X-Men Dark Phoenix cycle, like the last 3 X-Men movies. You know what I mean? Listen, I know a lot of work went into it, people, and these movies made money and stuff, But again, at that point, like there's nobody. I don't want to say there's nobody, but there's not as many people out there saying it's good. So
Andre,
if
you
I
got to
was
take
Kevin
off your.
Feige, or if I was those guys, I'd be like, yeah, let's trailblaze. We've set a bar for what we want for these Marvel movies. Let's continue doing that. Now, maybe it is going to be great because all these actors that get brought back in, they're like, oh wow, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to do this. But again, I would almost rather it be like how they tackled it in that Spider-Verse cartoon, where it's hey, we're going to do our own multiverse movie and we're going to do it our way and introduce characters because that movie introduced other characters from Spider-Man that mainstream people didn't know. Sure, they were from the comic books, but it was only from that movie, right?
But I'm sure if they had the option to bring in Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, they would have. It wasn't probably an option for them. But yeah, I think we gotta take your retailer cap off, Andre. You're not gonna be stuck with trades that you're not gonna be able to sell and put in the bargain bin. So we just gotta roll. It's just digital. It's all out in the universe. So speaking of that, Andre, we've got to the segment of I Have Spoken. So why don't you tell our listeners at home what you recommend for them this week, whether it's comic book or an item.
What a perfect segue, because we just talked about Spider-Man and trade paperbacks. And this past Wednesday, one of I set myself up perfectly. This past Wednesday, one of the best Spider-Man stories just got reprinted in trade paperback by Marvel Select. Not the Clone Saga, but I would say this one here, you have to read it if you have not already read it, and it's Kraven's Last Hunt. And they've reprinted this in a nice hardcover format. This book came out in the mid-90s, and wow, what a story. You've definitely seen the cover image of black costume Spider-Man, and he's kind of rising from a grave, and behind him is his tombstone and stuff. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown of this story, and I hope I vet your appetite enough for you to pick this book up if you haven't, or if you had read it when you were a kid but no longer have those issues. This hardcover is fantastic. It's all collected and it's inexpensive. So the story of this, it's called Kraven's Last Hunt. Kraven the Hunter wants to be the greatest hunter of all time, and he wants to finally prove that this is true. So he hunts the most dangerous prey, which is Spider-Man in his opinion. And to prove that he is the best, he takes over for Spider-Man. So he kills Spider-Man and then replaces Spider-Man. And wow, what a journey, what a ride. It's one of the first comics I remember reading that was literally almost like this psychological drama as well as an action drama. You really got into Kraven's mind, and he was really kind of warped. And then you saw the fear in Spider-Man, the fear because he knew he was facing a different Kraven, something was different, but then also the sense of loss and confusion in characters like Mary Jane and Aunt May, because Spider-Man, Peter Parker, had been gone for a couple of weeks, and then he rises again. Fantastic story, a definitive moment in Spider-Man's career, and a really, really good portrayal of Kraven. And again, we talked about it earlier in the podcast, saying how you want deaths to be permanent and stuff like that. This would have been one of the greatest endings, but of course in comic land nobody stays dead very long. But after you're reading this, you would definitely wish that this is how Kraven went out. But fantastic book. It is available, Heroes World. We've got several copies, so if you're interested, even in this podcast, after hearing it, let us know, contact us, and we'll hook you up with that book. So once again, it's the Marvel Select new printing of Kraven's Last Hunt in hardcover.
Awesome.
I'm gonna blow your mind away. That was 1987.
Yeah.
Oh, it was 87?
Yeah.
I remember being a kid at camping and I was reading it, and I had those 6 issues.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually have the reprint covers. I had Mike Zeck when at Fan Expo. He had those reprinted covers. I have all 6 because they're phenomenal. So
phenomenal story.
Yeah. So now here we go. We've talked perfect that everyone's connecting, just like the multiple Marvel universes, Andre, all coming together, and then this podcast. John mentioned before about the rebooting, and here we go. So my question to you, John, is name a comic book series that you want to see rebooted, and what is your pitch?
Yeah, so took me a quick second here, but there's an old character that I really like that I feel like hasn't really kind of come back to Marvel Modern in a major shape or form. So this character is his name is Death's Head. And he's got like an intergalactic kind of bounty hunter character. He got a lot of fame back in the day when he was tossed into the Transformers universe, and he was actually grown to the size of a Transformer and had to like uh, I forgot which Transformer he had to kill or whatever. But he's been brought back a couple of times, and there was one point where
Like
he
a
got turned
bootleg
into
Lobo.
yeah, he got turned into Death's Head 2, where like it was like a Predator 2 looking guy. But I would want the original Death's Head back. They kind of talked funny. He would end every sentence with yes at the end, like, are we going to go out tonight? Yes, like with a question mark. I don't know if he had like an accent or something like that to go along with it because it was always comic book form. But I think bringing him back, and I would take Donny Cates, who's actually just wrapping up his Venom run, and had a lot of success with characters like Cosmic Ghost Rider. I would definitely throw him on the book. I don't know who I'd get to draw it, maybe someone like a Ken Lashley or something like that. But I would definitely want to see him back and get a little bit more exposure.
What is his powers?
As far as I know, he was just some kind of bounty hunter. He looked like a robot. He was just some type of cyborg or something. Maybe Andre knows. But the thing is, I didn't get to learn a lot about him when I was a kid because he didn't have like any major books that you could really follow and stuff like that.
Okay. All right. So thank you, John. Rob?
Hey, buddy. I'm gonna go. So I'm gonna go with a book that I remember picking up the first trade at the shop. I think it was actually John who may have recommended it. I was at a point where I was like, I wanted something a little bit different from the normal, boots and capes and stuff like that. And so John had recommended a book that has just come out at a volume 1 omnibus that you can pick up from the Heroes World store, and that's 100 Bullets. I've mentioned this book in the past. The premise of this is that you have an agent of some federal government in the federal agency in the U.S. government has got a case. He gives somebody 100 bullets, and they can do with they're not magical. They're untraceable bullets. So if you need to exact revenge on somebody or whatever, you can use up to these 100 bullets, and you will never be convicted of the crime. The story is great by Brian Azzarello and Edward Riso, the artist. The entire arc, it's definitely something that you want to pick up. The thing is all those characters, there is some interconnectivity within those characters, and I think that the idea of an individual kind of walking around kung fu style across America, or Incredible Hulk style across some of the 70s across the US with this case of 100 bullets. I think that premise and that idea can definitely be retooled and redone. And so I would love to see that. I would love to see Brian Edward Hill, who did American Carnage for DC a couple of years ago, also did rebooted Batman and the Outsiders 2 years ago. I would love to see him take this idea and run with it. So I would be all for this notion of a new 100 Bullets out there. And for those who haven't read it, definitely contact John or Andre and pick up that omnibus, because it's a fantastic story. So you owe it to yourself to read a really good crime.
How many issues is that omnibus?
Well, there's 100 issues. So that first omnibus, I believe, is 53, because I think there was a couple of different side one-shots that were thrown in there. So that's volume 1, and I don't know the exact date of volume 2 coming out. It'll probably be, I think, 2022, but it's going to take, it's thick. It's a big thick ass book. So so you gotta grab that, and definitely it's worth the time. The story is just so good. So definitely go grab that.
Awesome.
One of the best Vertigo series of all time. One of the best comic series. You want a tight comic series, man? Like bulletproof. That series is bulletproof. Like
unless you have the 100 bullets gun, and then it's a whole different story. Andre, yes, go. What is your pitch? What is your idea? What do you want to see rebooted?
So I want to see a Punisher reboot. Last I think a couple podcasts ago we talked about a character we want to kind of up, and I picked Punisher and Moon Knight to go together. So I'm kind of sticking with that kick, except I'm going to give a little bit of a difference to Frank Castle. So Frank Castle, at its core, he's military, right? He's a great soldier and stuff like that. and he still respects that chain of command and stuff, as we've seen very good writers, when they see, Punisher or Frank Castle interacting with like Nick Fury or interacting with Steve Rogers, he's like, there's that respect and stuff like that. So my change would be, I don't know if I'd call the book The Punisher, but it would definitely be Frank Castle, and I'd call it Frank Castle, U.S. Agent, and he would be under the direct guidance of either a Nick Fury or a Steve Rogers. And this is just he's going to be basically a sanctioned like mercenary / assassin. There's certain things that superheroes cannot do, right? You can't send them certain places, and there's certain things that just have to be done. And why not take the most determined and most successful vigilante and then point that weapon at your enemies. So I think that'd be a really cool book. You could have him teaming up with like Winter Soldier or other guys like Moon Knight, but it would just be like really great. You have this autonomous guy and he's taking either orders, like I said, from Captain America, who like I said, he respects and will follow, or kind of like a Nick Fury. Not that regular Nick Fury is in the Marvel universe right now, but I think that'd be pretty cool, because I don't want to say he'd be on the side of the angels or whatever, but at the same time, there's just certain things, the world's a rotten place sometimes, and Spider-Man can't solve all the trouble, right?
Okay, perfect.
Give Frank Castle 100 bullets and have,
and then Rob, get this. Wait a second.
You won't find him.
Give him 100 bullets. Make him a zombie. Frankencastle / 100 bullets / Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Hey, listen, you can't get any worse than the Marvel Knights reboot where Frank Castle was like fighting ghosts and goblins.
That was Frankencastle. That was when he was there, and then he get resurrected by angels. This is he was fighting supernatural. That was basically supernatural. Anyways, we're gonna keep on going. That's a thing that Andre, I would have totally jumped off and like, forget it. I'm never gonna read a Punisher comic again. But Punisher always gets me back. So I will gloss over that, just like they always gloss over the fact that he mentions he was a zombie at one point in a Frankencastle. Okay, here we go. So again, John, do a great job of making segues. We're doing an artist spotlight this week, and we are going to shout out to Andre's boy and friend of the show, Ken Lashley, and we're going to talk about his art. We talked about Mike Del Mundo before, so now we're going on my pick of Canadian artists. So we're going to talk about Ken Lashley at least, and I want you each, starting with John, to pick your favorite cover or pick your favorite series of his, and infotain the masses to this Canadian treasure, Ken Lashley. And also we had Mike Del Mundo before, but yes, John, go for it. What do you got?
Yeah, so Ken Lashley, a brilliant artist, very very detailed in his art, very kind of action fueled for his stuff. He's actually doing so I'm actually going to tie it back into my other thing. Donnie Cates is doing a series called King in Black right now. Ken Lashley is doing a lot of the covers for this series. So my favorite out of all of them is he did a Gwenom versus Carnage cover, which has kind of a Gwenom blended with Venom and Carnage, and it's got like the Spawn symbiote type of stuff flying everywhere. So he did the covers for issue 1 and 2, I believe. I don't know if there's any more issues of that book, but the cover 1, like a lot of people were buying it just for the cover alone. Unfortunately, he didn't do the interior arts, but I'd say I like that piece. And he also did a really
Do we know what it looks like, John? Are you going to show it to us?
Yeah, I got it. Is a share screen option up?
Yeah. You got to show it. This is part of the shtick.
I don't know. All right, here it is.
You're new, John. You're new.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah, so he did that cover, and then he also did a really wicked Thor cover as well that has like Thor venomized with the hammer and stuff like that. So he did a lot of covers for this series. So if you dig his art, then I would definitely, and it's a great series overall as well. Awesome.
All right, Rob.
Yeah, so I'm actually gonna go back to a DC property. This is, first of all, it's a representation of my Flash, which is Wally West. But back in 2006, when DC rebooted The Flash as the fastest man alive, I'm going to put it on my iPad because I don't want to mess up this stream. It's a Flash, fastest man alive, Ken Lashley, showing Wally West exploding out of the Speed Force. You can see the ring there on the it's way ahead of him, right? So it's just so dynamic. Like seeing the Flash running towards the reader is just dynamic, and I love that you could see the speed and just the stern look on the Flash's face. So I'm all for that.
Awesome. Andre?
All right, so yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that Ken's a friend of the store and a friend of mine. So yeah, I want to just talk a little bit about Ken and his career and the great guy that he is. So I've known Ken for several years, probably over a dozen. We had him back at our store for our 7th anniversary. It was 7 years gone in a flash, and that's when he was doing that series. So we've always kept in touch, and over the last year, Ken has reached out and done so much for comic stores in trouble over the pandemic. He's got a thing called his Killicons, and that's his tag. His artist tag is Lead Killa, so LEAD as in lead, and yeah, so he's got this group, and he draws and he auctions and he live streams and stuff, and it's all donated to charity with his big group of fans buying these books. He was so nice to do a cover and an auction for us in our time of need, and it was fantastic. But like this Ken, if you've never met him, he's the real deal. Like he's an artist that truly loves comics. He does all kinds of other work, but comics, I think, brings him the most joy, because not only does he love to draw comics, covers and stuff, but he also works for Hasbro doing toy illustrations for Marvel Legends and Star Wars. He does concept art. He does, art tutorials for like Autodesk and all kinds of stuff. This guy, like realistically, we don't know how talented he is. And what's greater than his talent is his love for the fans and the people. A couple years ago, probably 3 years now, John, he basically called us up the day before Free Comic Book Day. He's like, Andre, I want to come and crash your store for Free Comic Book Day. Can I come? And I'm like, are you kidding? You're always welcome. So he came to the store, and literally from I think 1 o'clock to like 7 o'clock, free sketches for people. And when I say sketches, these aren't sketches, these are full drawings. Drew on covers, he signed books, gave out free prints, took pictures with everybody. That's the kind of guy Ken is. So and he always says, it's not about the price. If you want a commission for him, it's not about the price of the piece, it's about what you want to pay. So he's never going to have a pricing structure or anything. He's just going to say, hey, who do you want drawn, how big, and how much do you want to pay, and I'm going to work that in. So the guy, is super. I think his talent is only second to his generosity. So that being said, man, I don't think I can pick a favorite Ken Lashley, cover. Like John mentioned a couple pieces and stuff like that, but I will pick one because that was the choice, and I'm gonna go with one that really blew up the internet during the pandemic. And if the share screen is up, I'm going to see if I can bring it up here, Stu. It is the first cover for Spawn, and he did a Spawn series with McFarlane, and it was, I think, Spawn number 308. So let me see if I can figure out the share screen, and let's see if I can get that up for everybody to see here.
For those who are listening, this is very much akin to when your grandparents used to ask you, my VCR keeps flashing 12 and I don't understand.
No, definitely. It is definitely that.
Why is this controller has so many buttons? Like, what is happening? Like, what? Why?
Why are there 2 rewinds? It says skip and then rewind. But what if I don't want to do this? Like, I don't understand.
This is great for the people listening on the podcast at home on iTunes or Spotify. They're like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah, what are you guys doing? Yeah.
How come it takes so long to rewind through something? Well, you can actually press it a few times and it increases the speed. Well, that still should be 1 speed.
How does that fit in my Ferrari at home? My Ferrari that rewinds VHS. I don't understand. Why doesn't it work?
Robbie, I have a box of VHS tapes. Would they be worth anything about now? No.
It depends. Some of them are.
Well, if it's the Disney clamshells, then yes, sure.
Yeah. Well, I think there's also some movies that are never being converted to Blu-ray DVDs because of rights. So there's a few
Yeah.
movies out there that
Yeah, I got it if you want.
Here we go. Finally, boom.
Oh, boy.
So
There we
yes,
go.
this cover
Yep.
here, Spawn 308. This comic broke records. This was a book that Ken actually got to do the interior to, and he killed it. I think this book got reprinted 2-3 times, John. So yeah, very, very hot book. And yeah, like, you know, Ken is just super talented, as John mentioned, super kinetic, just energy in the page, just pops. You can see his Lead Killer logo on the bottom of this cover here. So yeah, great guy. Can't say enough about him. Definitely check out his pages, his Instagram and all that stuff. And yeah, follow this guy because you will not be disappointed. Truly one of the greats in the industry right now. And yeah,
John
we love him to death.
John will add his handle in the description of this podcast. So if you want to follow him on Instagram, I'm sure every artist now has accounts, so you can follow him there. Perfect. So as we jump off to the next topic, talking about, I think Andre before talked about crossovers and trades, and he brought this topic up himself in a previous brainstorming session. So it's time to bring it out, dust off that idea about crossovers, even though he doesn't like it when it comes to Fox Marvel. We're talking about crossovers in terms of DC and Marvel. I want to find out from you, John, what DC or Marvel character you would choose to swap in the other universe that would be more interesting, or a character that's underutilized right now, one into the other one. What is your character? What would you think works?
Yeah. So it's hard, like, since we're so familiar with these two universes, to imagine one character in the other universe. And I would always definitely throw Nightwing into the Marvel universe. And
You've done it
watch
already,
him
John.
just dominate.
You've done
But
it already.
Yeah, that's why.
It.
So I'm gonna go to I'm gonna actually shovel Ghost Rider over to the DC universe because his power set is actually pretty kind of bonkers.
Mhm.
So like I think he would kind of fit in there.
The space version or the regular
No,
version?
I'd stick with the regular version of Ghost Rider. Jason Aaron did this really cool series where Ghost Rider was fighting all these weird contraptions and big like demon type things. So I think he needs like a bigger thing to deal with. So I would definitely shove him over in there with his motorbike and everything, all the flaming hellspawn type stuff, and see how he does in the DC universe. He'd be able to ride alongside Flash and all kinds of fun stuff like that.
I don't care about Flash, but I would kill to see him have dialogue with Constantine, where Constantine would get his cigarette out and be like, "Let me just use
he would
your
fit
head
right
to
in there,
light
yeah.
my butt and have a cigarette." So
Ghost Rider versus Lobo on a
And like his power set just seems like it's up there.
No,
and
his
he
power
doesn't
set's
seem to
bonkers.
really fit.
Yeah. It's his power set's whoever's writing him. That's how strong he is.
Yeah.
So it's
sounds dirtier than you meant it to.
Rob. Hello.
Hello.
Hey,
Hey, buddy.
buddy. Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
It's been a while. It's been a while, as the song would say. That's stuck in your head. It's been a while.
It is. Okay, I'm gonna go, and it's still in there. For the earworm that won't leave. I'm gonna go. I know this is gonna be something that you're like, oh yeah, that's obvious. I want to put Batman in the Marvel universe, and I'm gonna tell you why. It's because if you look at a lot of really good Batman stories, he is the detective. He is the ground level hero, right? You look at the beginning of Snyder and Capullo's Batman run in the New 52. I mean, he was facing off against the Court Owls, but he was trying to investigate this hidden cabal within Gotham. I think the problem with DC, and I love DC, I'm a DC fanboy, but everybody is like a god, right? Everybody's got like this super massive power set. And I often find that a lot of the writers, like they inject like a steroid infusion into Batman, and he always has these mechanized robots or these improbable gadgets to be able to help him be on the same level as most of the DC heroes and villains. I would like to see him put into the Marvel universe and back to his roots as a street level hero, going up against, or at least work in conjunction with like the likes of Daredevil and Moon Knight, and really just bring him back down to just being a guy who's got, kind of like Tony Stark, but he's got the cash and he's smart. And I want that Batman. I find myself jumping on and off the Batman train because as much fun as some of those stories are, when you blow them up to be improbable, then there's no, I can't relate. I don't get it.
Bad
Right?
god,
You
you
don't
mean,
need to be a
yes.
bat god. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I know that it's like the eye roll and the groan, but that's for the reason why I think Batman's a great character when he's just on the street. You know, I don't need him to be on the same level as Shazam or Superman or Wonder Woman. So
Yeah, that's also the convenience where he always has a contingency plan. It's like, I got something for this.
well, it's an eye roll. It's the original Batman 66 fighting off the shark. Thank God he happened to bring his bat shark repellent that day. And that's what I feel like a lot of these stories in the last couple of years have been like. Well, thank God I've got this. I built this massive bat mech suit to be able to defeat the... Okay, great. Okay, whatever. Right? So
a half Batman, half a Superman mech suit that was built in
Right,
Japan.
yeah.
Very convenient. Very convenient.
exactly. Looks like a grandizer. It's built in the... right? With a one-woman crown as a shoots up and like, come on, man.
It's like, yeah. I get it makes sense to have the one bullet of kryptonite, but everything else on his bat belt. You're like, how is this? How did you know you're fighting magic today?
Yeah.
This is very convenient. It's like the Felix the Cat bag. It's always something new pulling out. Andre, go ahead.
All right, so I'm putting Silver Surfer into the DC universe just to mess
We've done
up
that before. We've talked about this before, but yes, go for it.
Have we?
Yeah,
I don't think
so. In a back issue, but go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
But
anyways,
that's okay. You can still go.
I think it would be great to see Silver Surfer just be able to kind of cut loose against all the different cosmic entities that are in the DC universe, like seeing him go up against like the Red Lantern Corps, seeing him go up against Dark Side, seeing him go up against like what's
Batman will be
Batman.
powered up with some cosmic surfboard
Special
himself.
bat surfboard.
Yeah.
He has a vacuum cleaner that sucks the power cosmic out of him, and then he has the
That's
power
right.
cosmic, and then
Yeah,
he rides his, not a surfboard, but he has to ride like a schooner or something. Cosmic schooner. Yes, go on, Andre.
No, yeah, that's it. I just think he
You know
would-
what I thought,
think he
Andre?
would fit
I
right
thought
in.
you were gonna go like slam dunk, like Frank Castle, put him in the Suicide Squad, just switch him in the other unit because you need someone that could fight gods. Who else is perfect for that?
See,
Frank freaking Castle.
The problem with putting Frank Castle into the Suicide Squad is that he kills every other member of the Suicide Squad, and then he is just left, and he never fails because he's Frank Castle.
What about
None of those Suicide Squad, he would kill every one of them because they're all criminals who need a second chance, and none of them could beat Frank Castle.
But what about Frank Castle versus Deathstroke versus Deadshot?
Well, okay, so Frank Castle couldn't beat Deathstroke, but he'd outshoot Deadshot instantly.
Yeah.
Deadshot, yeah, he's a clown, like, you know. So.
I think, yeah, maybe
Will Smith is not very happy with you right now.
all he has to
Oh,
do
Will Smith is not Deadshot though.
He's not coming back to it.
Movie Deadshot,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's
we'll
totally
see.
different. He wore a pimp hat for Pete's sake in that, you know. It's not the
John,
same dude.
you have to say never. Well, he's like, he ain't coming back. I'm like, well, I thought a lot of people weren't coming back. Guess what
Yeah.
they're doing? It's like, it was that article that I read about Angelina Jolie. She's like, I never expect to be in my like 40s wearing a silver, like a gold spandex costume, but there she is. She's gonna be in the Eternals. Like, you never know what's gonna happen. And I never thought I'd see Brad Pitt as a superhero. Guess what? It happened. We had Brad Pitt as a superhero. So let's just
You really couldn't see him until the very last second.
but you know, he was invisible, but he was still there. And we've had, you know,
Yeah.
Ben Affleck, we've had Matt Damon, we've had everyone like where you never
Yeah.
thought. And even to point, Will Smith being in a DC movie was something unfathomable before. You're like,
Yeah.
really? A DC movie? So now we got left is Leo. I think that's the last one where
Yeah.
DiCaprio is the final one. But you know, there are rumors of him too. So let's see what happens. Okay. Speaking of the Marvel cascade of things, Deadline and Variety had indicated that Ryan Coogler has signed a 5-year deal with Disney/ABC to have a right of refusal to do his product, like, you know, his ideas and produce TV and movies. Great job by him. Keep cashing them checks. You know, why not work for clearly one of the biggest studios who's still making things? You know, as much as Fruitvale Station is the jam, you ain't making those movies right now without some Marvel money to help you out on the other side of the tunnel. So word has come out that there's potentially a Wakanda show. So John, tell us your pitch as to what the heck this Wakanda series is about, because as we know, there's a few issues happening right now, and there's also a rumor of a new Black Panther, so with a certain actor from Bridgerton. So give us your thoughts on what you think the Wakanda show should be.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of cheated a little bit because my absolute favorite thing about the Black Panther movie was Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger. So I want to see his.
That's not cheating. He could still be there.
Yeah, I want to see his rise in the ranks of military soldier, kind of like growing up and becoming.
It's not in Wakanda.
The
I thought you were
machine.
gonna.
That's why I said it kind of cheated.
No,
but you can flash.
No, you didn't
flash
kind of
back
cheat.
to-
You're full out cheated.
So you want a show not to do Wakanda? Okay,
Yep.
I was like, oh wait, yeah, that's wrong. That's John. When we say we're not going to judge you, I think Andre and Rob and myself just judged you. As I think in the words,
it'll take place in present day, and it'll be that he survived
okay,
his confrontation with Black Panther, and he's now training to maybe potentially take over the mantle or become someone like a Black Panther because he has seen the light or something along those lines, or he wants.
Yeah, and
to
it was a
show
subway
them
train
his-
coming at him.
this way. Yeah. Okay.
yep. Yeah. So that okay. Okay.
Fucking Johnny.
All right, I want to see what's going on in that skull cave that M'Baku's tribe came out. So that we'll have a show set.
So now
on
this is your
what's going on in
third.
that skull
This is your
cave.
third show. Continue.
All right, the third show is a rom-com.
John, I think the phrase that we all are thinking, John, is you've been weighed, you have measured, and you have been found not wanting. So, Rob, what is
featuring
Angela
Angela Bassett and M'Baku?
Hey man, don't knock that. Angela Bassett, she's
you know what? I
immortal.
don't.
She's fantastic and gorgeous. So she's the best. Carry on.
I don't know. I don't know how they're going to about how they're going to make this story. I mean, I think there's a lot of stories to tell in modern day Wakanda. Part of me wants to though see, the emergence of the vibranium, and we saw in Black Panther, they tell the story of the meteor crashing down, and then you start to see the buildup of society. But I'd like to see that story within, excuse me, like the 60s or 70s, where it becomes more of an industrial type of Wakanda, and they start to realize that they actually do have a power and position within the world. But why did they dome off their city? Obviously, there's something had happened, an integration of of an African country trying to make its way into the world, and obviously other forces, other countries are trying to poach what they have. So I want to see that power play, that struggle to say, no, we have a voice in this world, and obviously they're fighting off, maybe the U.S. trying to take what they have. And push them back down. So I want to see that dynamic, that power play. I don't necessarily need to see the power of like a Black Panther or whatnot, because obviously there's been a generation of Black Panthers, but I would like to see the struggle, the fight, the building of this world, and so that's kind of what I want to see.
Agents of Wakanda, is that what you're looking for? So
no, I don't want to see an Agents of Wakanda, but I want to see a political, I do want to see like
a
an
West
Aaron
Wing. Is that what you want?
type.
A West Wing?
Yes, I want a West Wing where they're sitting there and they walk. They
walk through the corridors,
hallway shots, and they
yep.
discuss. No, but I mean, listen, they put a veil over Wakanda so that nobody would know. But why did they do that? They did it. Obviously, people were not respecting them as a nation and as a people, and so they needed to protect themselves. And there's obviously a very deep story there as to why that is. I want to see that.
Awesome, Andre, finish us off.
All right, so I think what would be really cool for the show, and it's a popular genre right now in TV, and I think you mentioned it, Stu, Bridgerton.
Yep.
I'd love to see bring in Shonda Rhimes, and you do a political and kind
She
of
can't, but Ryan Coogler has to be involved. Shonda Rhimes is only Netflix.
no.
But I know what you're saying. Yeah.
They get together. This is what do we call
consults.
dreaming
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
she
so
consults,
it's
yeah.
still a Ryan Coogler. He's the head,
Yep,
but you
yep.
bring in somebody, and this is going to be a show about all the political machinations of all the different tribes,
Yep.
and how they vie for power, and are they making alliances for birthrights to be like, hey, I want you to sit on the throne, so you're gonna have to make this alliance. And I would set it way in the past. Like Rob's might want his in the 60s and stuff, but I think the story of Wakanda really is like, it's going back hundreds of years. And I think it'd also be really cool because you could then show kind of Black culture, or this culture in its height, and you could see it in its grandeur and its splendor, like kind of how in the Black Panther movie, when we saw his the Black Panther being inaugurated, and you saw all the tribes and they were in their garbs and all that stuff. I think it'd be really cool. We could see the forefathers of the Mbaka tribe, or the white gorilla tribe, and hey, why did they get ostracized and put out? But I'd have it like just purely set like that, and kind of rock on. It would be something that would be actually different than what Marvel's doing and stuff. And people love to see all this period pieces, but let's give it a period piece from a different cultural perspective. And that way you can maybe put some light onto a different part of the world.
It's like a Game of Thrones mashup of Wakanda. Sounds like almost.
Yeah, I think to Andre, to your point, I think Wakanda has been shown in comics as always the advanced civilization. So regardless of whatever time period they're in, they're always ahead of everyone else. So I don't know what about terms of height of power, because watching Black Panther, they are at the height of their power. They have the coolest stuff already. But like, how do you even make it cooler? Because maybe you have cell phones in the 80s. You're like,
so
that's
let me
better
rephrase
than
that. This, I'm gonna go back to the original, when they the meteor hits. And they are still probably tribal at that point. And then probably within their first 100 years or 200 years, that's when all the 5 tribes are saying, oh, okay, yeah, now we all have access to this vibranium. We're rising up. There's definitely going to be some families that are powerful in that tribe. And then you kind of build up. So when I mean period piece, I mean, set it back then. And maybe back then you could be like, oh, hey, there's these Roman guys coming to Africa. What are we going to do? Okay, well, let's make sure they don't find us. Let's kill off these guys, and we'll leave the most useless one, who's Mark Antony, and he'll be the one to stay in Egypt. We can deal with him.
Can we
or whatever, right?
Can we integrate Gal Gadot as Cleopatra in this show, Andre? Can we bring her in?
I think she's in DC, so I don't know.
Well, she's not playing Diana. She can be Cleopatra. So this is a different character.
I don't think she
just like how Lawrence Fishburne is in both universes, right? Where he's Perry White in one universe.
Yeah, but he's got a little bit more clout than Gal Gadot. So I don't know if she can have both.
Michael Keaton, Batman, and Vulture. Like we can keep on going. Everyone splits back and forth. Michelle Pfeiffer.
That's true.
So let's bring in let's really go into the curve and bring in different actors as for that period piece show. But yeah, I they're all fun ideas. We'll be interested to see what happens.
I have a 4th show, which is Killmonger's dad going undercover into the real world. And it's got like a departed.
You're out.
You muted him because you know that he was going to say, and it was being played by Tyrese.
Tyrese cannot be in the Marvel universe outside of Sony. So that is it. That's. Yeah, no, John, no. I muted you for a reason. You had your chance before to do your bit, your joke, and you fell on
swing and a miss.
Swing and a miss. So there we go. Okay, so as we're wrapping things up, John and Andre, where can people find you guys on the internets and in the real world?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks again, Stu, for always putting up with our shenanigans, and big shout out to Ken Lashley. I'll put all his links in the bottom of the description here. On social media, Heroes World Online, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. All the latest stuff gets posted there. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when we go live or when these new episodes get posted, because sometimes our schedule flips. And then if you're listening on the audio, please rate and review us on the Apple iTunes, and that's Heroes World Podcast.
Andre?
Yeah, we are doing curbside pickup right now. The store is located at 8601 Warden Avenue, and that's in Markham, and it's conveniently located at Highway 7 in Warden. So hopefully, with any luck, we will be able to have some guests and customers come back in as of next week. Hopefully, they loosen up some of these lockdown restrictions. But please well, first of all, thank you to everybody who has been supporting us and stuff and coming by and doing curbside. But please, if you're listening to this and you are in the position to support any local comic book store or even us, now's the time to do it. This is wow, a long time, and I just wanted on not a tangent, but this particular lockdown is way worse financially for us than the first lockdown. The first lockdown, the whole world stopped. We weren't receiving new products. We weren't, there's no shipments coming in. But basically now, we've been getting new shipments basically still every week since December. So products piling up. There's a lot of great stuff coming into the store. There's been new releases for games, comic books, models, Warhammer, just everything. Like, we've still been getting it. So if there's anything you need or want, give us a call, an email, or come in. I think a lot of stores are probably in that position there that, we can't wait forever for you to be able to come back in. I'm sure there's a lot of stores that might be like, hey, if people don't start, shopping, there might not be a store to come back to. And I think that's a reality that not many people want to talk about. The world's been very great about saying support restaurants, and there's Eat Out Tuesdays or whatever, and there's all this other stuff. But please, there's so many other small businesses and comic stores and other things that just need your help. If you want these stores to be around, and you're in the position, listen, I'm not going to say, hey, don't spend your money that you need food or medicine on or whatever. But if you're just thinking, oh, I'm going to go and spend $200 in the summer when they open back up, that might be too late for some places, and it's really getting tough on us right now.
Yeah. So the hashtag is, I guess, buy a comic on Wednesday is the thing that you should who work.
Yeah,
on. So
maybe definitely should. And I guess even on a little bit of it, I know it's still a couple months away, but I don't know what they're going to do for Free Comic Book Day. I think it almost needs to be changed to be like, go buy $100 in Comic Day from your store, because for how many years, for 20 plus years, stores have been doing free comics. There's no way we're going to be in a position to be like, let's buy a ton of comic books and give them out for free this year, let alone, because we probably don't want that mass of people, because it could be a spreader event. But yeah, like, I know it's tough, especially to buy from us right now. It's not super easy, but we really need the help, and we would really appreciate anything that people can do.
Yeah. Before I get to Rob, of course, please share your thoughts on the topics in YouTube. So give us your thoughts on who you want to switch in the universes. Give us your pitch for Wakanda. Let us know what your Ken Lashley favorite comic cover is. So share your thoughts on the various platforms, and John and Rob will comment as always and get back to you. And Mr. Gaudette, please carry on.
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Rob Gaudette. You can find John and I live at 8:00 on Mondays, every Monday on YouTube. We have finished off part 1 of our greatest 80s action movies. We are rolling into part 2, which is our side bracket. So for those who are kind of, moaning and groaning about the fact that we don't have Predator or RoboCop, where they live in that bracket, this is our side bracket. We are starting that tomorrow night, which is, I don't know what day tomorrow is, but it's in February. We are starting that to Monday the 8th, I think. So we are starting that tomorrow. So please tune in. We are live on YouTube at 8:00. And if you don't, get a chance to join us live, then you go back and find us on YouTube or on Apple iTunes or Spotify to listen to the show. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of guests coming in, and John obviously we go over quickly about what the news is, and then we discuss what's new in the stores for this week coming up. So, to piggyback on what Andre was saying, listen, this is as a reader, this is no better time than to start catching up on back issues or older stories. Saga has been missing for 5 years, and Brian K. Vaughan dropped a big teaser that they've got a whole bunch already in the can. So Saga will be coming back. So call John, call Andre, message them, email them, whatever. They have the collected editions going on right now, right? So this is something, if you've always heard about Saga, if you've heard about 100 Bullets, but you've never, bitten the bullet, so to speak, and gone out, go and do it. Do it right now. Get the stuff and open up your a world to other stories out there.
Open your world and wallet, please. Thank you. And that is everything. So thank you all for joining us. Please be safe out there. And until next week when we do the next episode, Zanu Zagu Zagu,
Nanu. Yes.
Bonnie Bana we walk.
No, I think you should sing. You should sing the Wandavision song, making it up as we go along, or whatever that song was.
Why don't you do it, John? Go ahead.
Yeah, John,
go on, bud.
I don't know the song.
Well, obviously you do. You know what the title is.
I think John starts off with "Believe It or Not."
Believe it or not. Yeah.
That's what it is. Okay. Well, thanks very much, everyone. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
See you.